have some questions. We all know that 2020 was a complete and total dumpster fire. And apparently, it's not done. We were all hoping that December 31st at midnight, all 2020 would just disappear and we could move on with our lives. Wake up on January 1st, 2021 and realize it's not done. So, since I have questions, I'm sure a lot of you have questions. I've done some research, I've looked at a lot of things, but not everything has been kind of chiseled in stone as to what really is going on. So let's explore some of these together. It's been 11, 12 months. I think we deserve some real, true, full-on answers. So, I want to cover things like COVID, the impeachment. That was interesting. The lockdowns, the social distancing, the masks, the election campaign, school closures, the incessant need of the social media, or not the social media, the mainstream media, to constantly tell us, stay home, don't go visit your family, don't go to the nursing home and visit your alien grandma because you might kill her. Kept saying, you're gonna kill grandma. Maybe not in those exact words, but that's exactly what they were saying. You're gonna kill grandma, everything that you do. They wanted us to cancel all of our holidays. Then they were like, this is the new normal. What? New normal is depression, heightened domestic violence issues, heightened child abuse at home, child neglect. You can't go see grandma and listen to her talk about the good old days. You don't get to have her tell you about grandpa. You know, maybe you don't know grandpa and she's been telling you the things that you missed because he passed away. You're missing all of that. Grandma's got to learn how to use a freaking tablet. Do we not remember the fiasco when they did Medicare Part D and said you have to do it online? So, head forward, we get to the election. November 3rd's looking pretty good. Counts are coming in. Record highs for Trump. Wake up the next morning after they stopped counting to a big surge for Biden. What? The man who didn't leave his basement couldn't string two words together without help. He didn't know where he was, what he was doing. Half time I didn't know if he knew who he was. Somehow he was able to win. How is that? There's no widespread voter fraud. Widespread. So are they admitting to voter fraud? They just said it wasn't everywhere? One instance of voter fraud is enough. All year we dealt with riots of people who hate this country, trying to erase our history, thinking that they can just take over parts of different cities. Oh wait, they did, and they were allowed to. I believe the mayor said something to the equivalent of, it's the summer of love, it's a picnic atmosphere. What in the world picnics has she gone to where people are getting beat up, they are being threatened, and people are walking around with guns setting fire to everything, including federal buildings and police stations? I don't want to go to one of her family reunions if that's what they do, because that's a little scary for me. So, we have all these mandates going because of COVID. Alright. Want to flatten the curve, want to make it better. then we have Democrats who break their own mandates, travel across state lines to celebrate. They celebrated. There's no social distancing. Masks were worn by some, but not by all. And not by a particular politician I won't mention. But it was okay because she was celebrating. I wasn't supposed to celebrate with my family for Christmas. I did, by the way. But it's okay for her to break the mandate and not see any consequences because she was celebrating. What do they say? Celebrating democracy? Even though what they did and what they've been doing is so far from democratic. Well, not far from the Democratic Party, but so far democratic against the democracy that it's insane. It's not even bordering on communism and socialism anymore. They just jumped right into the deep end and are swimming around. So all year, not only did we have our riots and COVID, we heard Orange Man bad. That's what we kept hearing. Donald Trump is evil. Donald Trump is a socialist. Donald Trump doesn't care about you. Donald Trump didn't care. Why did he give up everything? He doesn't run his own business anymore. He passed that on. He was still raising a 13-year-old son with his wife. But he gave up a life of luxury and privilege. He could go... he was so rich, if we had a settlement on the moon, he could go there for breakfast every day. This is how rich this man is. He gave all that up. He gave his salary. I know, he said in the beginning he wasn't going to take the salary, but if he didn't physically take the salary, then Congress was going to do whatever they wanted with it. So he took his salary and gave it away. Man didn't get paid for 4 years. Because he was fighting for us. He was bringing back jobs. He was bringing back our economy. We had record highs for the economy and record lows for unemployment in his administration. But Orange Man bad. He's a xenophobe, a racist, a bigot. And I even heard him called a traitor. Now, I didn't know the word xenophobe until the Democrats started using it. I still don't quite understand it. But they called him this because when COVID came about and he found out where it was coming from, he stopped travel from that area. Well, wouldn't you want to block out a possible contagion if possible? I would. I don't know about any of you, but he was bad because he wanted to stop the spread as much as he could. That wasn't okay. He wanted to close our southern border because we've had criminals. Not all of them. I actually have been friends with people who have crossed the border. Good people. Their families are good people. But not all of them are. There was a man, I think it was in California. He came up from Mexico. He raped, murdered, and mutilated a 16-year-old girl. He had been sent back who knows how many times. I don't have the paper with me right now, but he was sent back many times. And that's the solution, just send him back. But there's no consequences of send him back and you can't come back. No. Just send him back. Then come back. Because we have to be this compassionate country. And then the phrase white privilege came out. Everything is freaking white privilege. I'd like to know where my white privilege is. Yeah, I'm a white girl. I want to know where my white privilege is. I have to pay for college, which, I'll tell you right now, it's almost $50,000 worth of student loan debt. That's where I'm at. I didn't get a scholarship because of the color of my skin. I didn't get a scholarship because my parents were born in another country. I can't even get a scholarship for the fact that I was born into poverty. I was born into welfare. But I don't get anything for that. But if I was black and I grew up in an inner city with a single mom who's got like 6 kids, I probably could have gotten a scholarship. Why? Because I'd be black, or Asian, or Mexican. There are scholarships for people just because of the color of their skin. But only if you have melanin in your skin. I unfortunately do not. Half the time I'm practically translucent. But I don't get that privilege. So where is this white privilege that keeps coming up? Because I haven't seen it. I have seen more people of color in my life whose parents have money than I have white people. White people used to be on the top of the world. Not in such good ways. No, I do not condone what they did. They were on top of the world at one point. And then they were shoved down, pushed aside. If you wanted equal rights, it should be equal for all. That's what our Constitution says. Or our Declaration of Independence, or whichever one of those documents. I don't have it in front of me, and it's kind of late, so things get jumped a little bit. And then by the end of 2020, like I just said, all white people are bad, especially if they voted for Trump. How can all white people be bad when you don't even know that white person? You don't know their life. You don't know who's in their family, who they adore. You just don't know. So how can you possibly ever say all white people are bad just because of who they voted for? Can I say all Democrats are senile because they voted for Biden? Or how about all white people, or all people who voted for Biden are pedos? You can't deny that he's a pedo. We'll get more on him later. So, today, our little discussion is going to be around COVID, the biggest thing of 2020. It was even bigger than the election for a while. So, new little virus pops up. Now, there's speculation that they knew about it before, but I have not seen hard evidence, like somebody admitting that they knew it or anything like that. I'm pretty sure they knew about it before. So what is it? Upper respiratory infection. A severe one. Okay. Yeah, those things happen. They're not fun. But in most cases, people don't lose their minds over it. So, how bad is COVID? I've known people who have had COVID. There's some lasting breathing issues, lasting cough, sometimes lasting weakness depending on who it was who got sick. But in most cases, in every case that I've come across, they've lived. And they're doing just fine, including an 80-year-old man who just recently got a pacemaker. He got his pacemaker and then got COVID. He's doing fine. looks a little worse for wear. That's not from COVID. Because he's wearing out. He's 80 something. It happens. It's not like we're all gonna live to be 100. But he's still kicking. He can still laugh. He's talkative. Still a good person. And he's not dead. But COVID kills everyone. Everybody's gonna die. If you listen to mainstream media and Fauci. Why are they ridiculing anyone, including healthcare professionals, who say different than what the mainstream media say? Yeah, in the beginning we had doctors all over the place. And nurses saying, wow, this isn't that bad. There's certain things you can take, there's certain things you can do, and you'll be fine. They were silenced. They were ridiculed. Some of them lost their jobs because they wouldn't follow the script. That doesn't make sense. There are people, little independent, what do you call them? Journalists, for lack of a better word, who went to these supposed COVID-filled hospitals. You know what they found? Anybody out there? You know what they found? Nothing. Nobody was there. They're not overflowing with COVID patients. If we were truly overflowing with COVID patients in, say, California or New York, then those hospital ships that Trump sent would have been utilized. But no, they were not utilized because they couldn't produce the patients. Oh yeah. And speaking of patients, a certain politician who's in charge of an entire state decided it would be a cool idea to send COVID-positive patients to nursing homes, where the most vulnerable of our society live. But this is a deadly disease. It's very highly contagious. Why are we sending these patients to nursing homes? Well, I can give you one answer. He's trying to kill Grandma. In many cases, he succeeded. So now we get down to our masks. In the beginning, Fauci himself said, masks do no good. You don't need to wear a mask. There's no reason to wear a mask. Give it a couple of months. Now he's saying, oh, we should require masks everywhere. So what is it, Fauci? Masks, no masks. Later on he says, now we should double mask. For any of you out there who are wondering about these masks, they are not to be worn all the time. Masks are porous. They trap dust particles, germs, all sorts of things in its fibers. So now you're walking around all day breathing this stuff in. And no, it's not going to stop things coming out. It's already been proven. It doesn't stop things coming in, and it doesn't stop things coming out. So, anybody who wants to tell you that masks work, tell them to try this. Take your little mask and dunk it in water. And then put it on. And see, and ask them, how much water do you think just went into your lungs? If it won't stop droplets of water, it will not stop microviruses like corona. But the other thing that you've done with this mask is you've created a petri dish right in front of your face. And then your breath is hot. So you've just incubated that petri dish. Incubation of a petri dish grows germs. You are breathing in and breathing out germs as you wear this mask all day long. But they're not going to tell you that. They're going to tell you masks are safe. They're not. They're actually hurting you more. I've talked to healthcare professionals who believe the same. So, that's our mask issue. So why do they keep us wearing these masks? It's not for our safety. No, it's not. Because even if you tell your doctor or your nurse, I can't breathe wearing this thing, because some of us can't, they say, well, it's our policy. Policy. Why is policy being held above medical need in these health care institutions? Policy? Even if it violates health. That doesn't make sense. Another clue? Masks aren't there for your health, or for mine, or for theirs. Let's see. Okay, they kept telling us, oh, we're gonna have a big surge of this virus. Big surge. Big surge. How do they know? They say it's gonna kill up to 1 million people. Or more. How do they know? How can you possibly know so much about a virus that just came out? You can't. Like, you don't know your job right away when you start something brand new. You don't know what kind of child you're gonna have as it grows inside your stomach. You do not know if that child's gonna grow up and be president, or be a doctor, or be a lawyer, or be a mooch that lives with you until they're 45 years old, living in your basement playing video games all day long. You don't know that. So you can't know, they can't know, that a virus is gonna be so deadly. Unless they had a hand in creating it, in studying it. Because anybody who knows anything about science, when you start putting numbers after a word, COVID-19, that should give you a clue that this is a man-made virus being used as a chemical weapon, biological weapon, to control us and to control the population. This is the 19th variation of the virus. Think about that one for a second. So, they have us locked down. They don't lock us down during flu season. Flu season kills people every single year. It happens every single year. We got this flu shot, but we still get the flu because it mutates. Okay? Nobody freaks out. Everybody's just like, oh, okay, well, I just need to, when I start feeling bad, I need to take this or whatever. And they're fine. Those with underlying health conditions are a little bit more cautious and careful. Makes sense. But every time the flu comes around, it's at a time when people are spending more time at home, especially in places that have pretty harsh winters. You don't get to go outside and walk in the park. You know, you dread having to go to the store if you need milk. The flu spreads because you're in so close proximity to each other when you're at home. And it's everywhere on the surfaces. You try and clean, but if you clean too much, honestly, you destroy your immune system. So why are we locked down? Can't be because of health, because it's already been proven for decades with the flu. Sitting in close proximity with people for very long periods of time gets you sick. Some people still had to go to work during this 2020 COVID insanity. If you worked at Walmart, you went to work. If you were a child care provider, you still went to work because the parents of those children still had to go to work. So everybody's being exposed. I've been exposed a lot, I'm sure, because I still go to the store. I don't wear a mask. I'm around my nieces and nephews and my sister. She's what they call an essential worker. So am I. Still went to work. Still did our jobs. We're still exposed. I didn't get it. Even when I was in a vulnerable state because I had something else, I still didn't get it. So, no, lockdowns don't work. Lockdowns are a form of control. That's exactly what those are. They're not helping. Even in flu season, they tell you, try and get out, walk it off, get some exercise. Because that builds your body's immune system. They also say social distancing. That was another new one this year, wasn't it? Stay 6 feet apart. But really? Because there's like a barrier 6 feet away from you? Stay 6 feet apart. I can guarantee you, if I cough or I sneeze unexpectedly, it happens. I have allergies. Those whatever comes out, the microscopic things are going to fly further than 6 feet. Another, control. Walk a certain way in the supermarket. They have like those little arrows going down each aisle. That's not gonna do you any good either. That's just dumb because the same people walk by the same crap. And then, I don't know if you guys have a Walmart near you. They moved the aisles to where you have a bunch of tiny aisles. The hell good is that gonna do? Their whole thing was weird. I never understood it. But anyways. So, we talked about Walmart was doing all this stuff to keep people away from each other. They said we were only supposed to have a certain number of people in the store. And I'm sitting here thinking we never have that many people in the store, so well, they don't matter anymore. They were closing down businesses. And I noticed it wasn't the big businesses. Oh no. It was the smaller businesses where they have like one location. Mom and pop style stores. They were being closed down. That wasn't for health, people, if you don't understand that. That wasn't because of COVID. That was a dig on our economy. And they kept people closed down. Finally, some people were like, no, I'm not closing down. I need to feed my family. My employees need to feed their families. And those people are getting arrested because they wanted to make money. They wanted to take care of their families. What kind of sense does that make? Hairdressers could not open. Churches could not open. Well, one hairdresser was allowed to open. And that's because Nancy Pelosi needed a haircut and needed her nails done. Dems were breaking their mandates all over the freaking place. And people still wanted to vote for them. Nancy Pelosi said that she was set up. No, she called, or her people called, set up the appointment lady did her job, and then Nancy wanted to attack her. Not okay. So, and then we come to the COVID deaths. Mainstream media puts it up. Oh, we're at this many million deaths in the United States. Every single day, they're saying this. There was already people admitting on video that they were told that if the person tested for COVID, positive for COVID, after death counted as COVID, even if they had a crushed skull, even if they clearly had a heart attack or an aneurysm, no, everything was COVID. Why? My answer is they wanted to scare the crap out of us. They just want us afraid, because if you're afraid, you're easier to control. They wanted us afraid, and it worked for most people. We talked about the mandates before. They're not consistent, and they don't make sense, as we've covered, with the closing of businesses, with the mask wearing, with the lockdowns. They had businesses closing at 10 p.m. They could open up, but they had to close at 10. Why? Because COVID has a curfew? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And then we got these stories. People going in to get tested for COVID. And they end up having to leave. They don't get the test. 2 weeks later, they're called saying, oh, you tested positive for COVID. They didn't get that swab in their mouth or the one that they put through your nose and dig into your brain with. No, they didn't get any of that. But they tested positive. How? Like I said, this whole thing didn't make sense from the beginning. My other question, maybe somebody else can answer this. Why did Nancy Pelosi believe that impeaching Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, was more important than figuring out what to do about this COVID crisis? They knew about it while they were still going through with the impeachment. They knew about it back in December 2019. And still, she pushed for impeachment instead of doing what was right for the American people. Why would she do that? Why would she withheld stimulus bills to help us who were losing our jobs and losing our money because the Republicans wouldn't let her put their bull crap in there? Using a, whether it be manufactured or not, health crisis for your own gain is just plain evil and sick. And yet people vote for these people. At least that's what the mainstream media are saying. Wonder if they really are, or if we're all being duped. Well, there's my rant and my questions for today. If you guys have any of your own or answers to any of my questions today, please comment below and let me know, and we'll discuss it next time. Bye!